What happens when a team that's been struggling all season suddenly delivers a near-flawless race weekend? How did Ferrari go from frustrating inconsistency to a podium finish that left their own team management momentarily speechless? And could Charles Leclerc's defensive masterclass against Lando Norris actually mark the beginning of Ferrari's long-awaited comeback? The answers to these questions might reshape everything we thought we knew about Ferrari's 2025 season. Because what happened in Austin wasn't just a good result, it was a complete transformation. For months, Ferrari fans have watched their team stumble through a season of missed opportunities and technical frustration. The pattern became painfully familiar: promising pace in practice, questionable strategy calls in the race, and that sinking feeling of what could have been by Sunday evening. But Austin changed everything. Charles Leclerc secured third place on the podium, while Lewis Hamilton drove to a strong fourth position. This wasn't a lucky break or a chaotic race that fell into their lap. According to the team's post-race analysis, this was precision, execution, and teamwork at its absolute best. The transformation was visible from the opening lap. Both drivers made clean, aggressive starts, positioning themselves perfectly and avoiding the chaos that often defines Turn 1 at the Circuit of the Americas. Leclerc got off the line brilliantly, holding position and keeping himself within striking distance of the leaders. The first few laps set a crucial tone. Ferrari had real pace, and Leclerc wasn't just hanging on, he was attacking. Hamilton's getaway from fifth was equally impressive. He showed great awareness and control, slotting himself right into the mix with the Mercedes and McLarens ahead. Throughout those crucial opening laps, he maintained pressure on George Russell while avoiding unnecessary risks. The discipline from both drivers was remarkable, especially for a team that has struggled with race management all season. But here's what made this performance truly significant. The understeer that had plagued Hamilton during qualifying was largely gone. The SF25 looked stable, balanced, and finally predictable, a major step forward that gave both drivers the confidence to push hard until the end. But the real story wasn't just about pace. It was about what Ferrari's engineers changed that made this transformation possible. And when you look at the data, the timing of these improvements raises fascinating questions about where this team is heading. For once, Ferrari's strategy room got it right. After a string of questionable tactical calls in earlier races, the team executed their race plan in Austin to perfection. They made a bold decision: split the strategies early. Leclerc opted for a one-stop approach to secure track position, while Hamilton went for a more aggressive two-stop strategy to maximize tire performance. The timing of both pit stops was impeccable, allowing the drivers to stay competitive without falling into heavy traffic. It was a rare weekend where Ferrari outmaneuvered their rivals strategically, making proactive rather than reactive decisions. This coordination produced a clean, disciplined race from both sides of the garage, something that has too often escaped them this season. But strategy alone doesn't explain such a dramatic performance leap. The real game changer came from the mechanical improvements Ferrari introduced earlier in the weekend. Engineers had implemented crucial setup refinements focused on the car's suspension geometry and weight distribution. These adjustments weren't about new parts. They represented a deeper understanding of the SF25's behavior under varying conditions. The decision to fine-tune the ride height and suspension stiffness was bold, but it paid off spectacularly. Telemetry data confirmed a more stable ride through the high-speed section of Sector 1 and smoother traction out of the slower final corners. The car's cornering speed improved, tire wear stabilized, and both drivers were able to attack the curbs without losing balance, something Ferrari has struggled with all year. This stability didn't just improve tire life, it gave the drivers the confidence to push harder for longer. Hamilton described the SF25 as the best it's felt in a long time, a statement that speaks volumes given how critical he's been of its unpredictability in past weekends. But the most impressive moment of the entire weekend came in the second half of the race, when Leclerc faced his biggest test. What happened next showcased exactly why this Ferrari resurgence might be more than just a one-race wonder. Lando Norris had been hunting. The McLaren driver spent much of the race closing in on Leclerc, and in the second half, he launched a relentless pursuit. He tried everything: different lines, late braking, DRS-assisted attacks on the main straight. But Leclerc's defensive driving was exceptional. He positioned the car perfectly at every corner, managing his tires while fending off Norris lap after lap. This wasn't desperate defending, it was calculated, measured, and remarkably calm under pressure. Even when the McLaren finally found a way through near the end, the podium was never really in doubt. Leclerc's drive was a reminder of his talent, patience, and discipline. A crucial performance at a time when Ferrari needed stability as much as speed. After the race, he noted that the car maintained its balance well into long stints and that managing the tires was far easier than before. It wasn't a race won through luck or chaos, but through disciplined execution. Meanwhile, Hamilton's consistency across the race distance matched the leading group, something that hasn't always been the case this year. His pace remained strong throughout his double stint strategy, and his feedback after the race was clear and measured. He praised the engineers for the steps forward they've made, highlighting how much better the communication and understanding within the team have become. The harmony between the two drivers was another standout factor. Throughout the weekend, Hamilton and Leclerc worked closely to refine the setup, sharing data and coordinating feedback rather than taking separate development paths. That collaboration paid off, producing a car that suited both their driving styles far better than before. The mutual respect between them was evident both on and off track, as each praised the other's performance after the race. This coordination, this execution, this level of performance, it all points to something bigger. But can Ferrari sustain it? The evidence from Austin suggests they might finally have the answer they've been searching for all season. By the end of the race, Ferrari had secured one of its best combined results of the season. Leclerc on the podium in third, Hamilton close behind in fourth. Valuable points gained in the Constructors' Championship. The result allowed Ferrari to close the gap to Mercedes, reigniting the fight for second place in the standings and boosting morale across the team. This is the kind of performance that can shift momentum heading into the final rounds. While Max Verstappen and Red Bull remain the benchmark, Ferrari's resurgence in Austin showed that progress is finally translating into results on track. For Ferrari's technical staff, this represented vindication after weeks of scrutiny. The improvements weren't down to new parts, but rather a deeper understanding of how to extract performance from the SF25. It was a small but significant victory for a team that has spent much of the season chasing answers. The championship now moves to Mexico, where the high altitude and thin air of Mexico City will present a new set of challenges, especially for engine performance and cooling. But Ferrari travels there with confidence restored. The question is whether they can replicate this level of execution under completely different conditions. What makes this breakthrough particularly intriguing is the timing. With several races remaining, Ferrari has positioned themselves not just as occasional podium contenders, but as genuine threats in the constructors' battle. The mechanical understanding they gained in Austin could prove invaluable as they tackle the varied challenges of the remaining circuits. But questions remain. Can Ferrari maintain this setup philosophy across different track types? Will the driver collaboration continue to produce results, or was Austin a unique circumstance? And most importantly, has Ferrari finally cracked the code on the SF25's unpredictability? The evidence from Austin is compelling, but one race doesn't define a season. What happens in Mexico will tell us whether this was a turning point or simply a bright spot in a difficult year. The SF25's potential appears real, and the teamwork between drivers, engineers, and strategists is finally paying off. If you found this analysis valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth F1 coverage. Drop a comment with your prediction. Is this Ferrari's real comeback, or will the inconsistency return? Because one thing's certain, after Austin, everyone will be watching Ferrari very closely in Mexico.